Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world with me, Deepika, coming up in the next 30 minutes. The D-Day dawns as top US and Russian diplomats to meet in Saudi Arabia's capital Riyadh for talks primarily focused on resetting thorny ties, discussion to include ways to end Russia-Ukraine conflict. European leaders in Paris emergency huddle, ready to provide Ukraine security guarantees, warn against ceasefire without peace deal. In a rare gesture, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi receives Amir of Qatar at Delhi airport to hold bilateral talks on trade, investment and energy, among others. And over 30 people killed and 15 others injured after a bus plunges into ravine in southern Bolivia. A very good morning to all our viewers joining us at this morning broadcast on DD India Live. To begin with the top story of the hour. The United States and Russia's top delegates will meet in Saudi Arabia today. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and President Vladimir Putin's foreign policy advisor Yuri Ushakov will hold bilateral talks with the US officials, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio, White House National Security Advisor Mike Waltz and Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff in Riyadh. The US officials said the meeting was a step to determine if the Russians are serious about peace talks. While ahead of the much-awaited meeting, Yuri Ushakov said the talks on Ukraine will be strictly bilateral. He further added that he is in Riyadh to negotiate with the American colleagues and there can be no trilateral talks.
Yuri Viktorovich, how's your mood before talks? What is an ideal result?
We'll see. The main thing is to start a real normalization of relation between us and Washington.
Is there any chance that tensions would decrease after talks?
Let's wait. There are serious people. We have also arrived with serious approach.
Well, the talks could lay the ground for a potential meeting between Donald Trump and Russia's President Vladimir Putin. Now, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has said that Riyadh talks should actively involve Ukraine and the European Union. He further said the talks open a window of opportunity, but it must be remembered that this can't be a false closure.
A window of opportunity opens because the United States administration is laying the foundations so that conversations that lead to peace start. Well, we welcome those talks, but we need to remember that this can't be a false closure. We can't repeat the mistakes of the past.
While European leaders met in Paris on Monday for emergency talks as they scramble for a response to Donald Trump's plan to open negotiations with Putin for an end to the conflict. The leaders agreed it would be dangerous to conclude a Ukraine ceasefire without a peace agreement at the same time. They, however, expressed that they were ready to provide security guarantees to Ukraine depending on the level of American support. Now, the leaders also stressed that all European nations must boost their support for Ukraine while ramping up defense spending at home to protect themselves against Russia.
A meeting like today is not for decision making. We have the European Council, we have NATO and other arenas to take decisions. So this was more like an informal meeting. I think all of us are aware that we need to support Ukraine more and stronger than we are today. I'm glad that all Nordic countries and Baltic countries are so supportive, but all Europeans have to step up when it comes to Ukraine and at the same time step up when it comes to defense spending at home. Because Russia is threatening all Europe now, unfortunately.
Now, meanwhile, Volodymyr Zelensky has asserted that Ukraine will not recognize a peace deal negotiated by the US and Russia if it is not involved in the talks. On the other hand, Israel has expressed support for the US proposal to take control of Gaza and displace its Palestinian residents as Washington's top diplomat held talks in Saudi Arabia. On his visit to Saudi Arabia, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio held discussions with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman as part of a broader push for the plan that envisions resettling Gaza's over 2 million residents in other countries. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reaffirmed his commitment to the plan, stating that it would pave the way for a new Gaza without Hamas or the Palestinian Authority. Now, Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz said a special agency would be established for the voluntary departure of Gazans. Arab states, including Egypt, Saudi Arabia and Jordan, are expected to discuss alternatives in a regional summit later this week. Egypt has reiterated its commitment to a two-state solution, which would establish an independent Palestinian state. Now, King Abdullah II on Monday reiterated Jordan's stance on the Palestinian cause, rejecting any form of displacement, resettlement or the establishment of an alternative homeland.
Washington.
Unfortunately, what they don't understand or they can't understand. Let me reiterate our firm position: no to displacement in Gaza and the West Bank, and the reconstruction of Gaza without displacement. I stress the importance of working to reduce the escalation in the West Bank, and that a just and comprehensive peace based on the two-state solution is the only way to achieve stability in the region.
The families of the hostages still in Gaza on Monday marked 500 days of their captivity, holding pictures of their loved ones and banners reading "Home Now." Israel's Security Cabinet convened on Monday evening to discuss the Phase 2 of the ceasefire. The ceasefire's second phase is meant to usher in negotiations to return the remaining living hostages. Now, thousands of Israelis took to the streets of Jerusalem and Tel Aviv on Monday to demand the release of 73 hostages still held in Gaza, 500 days after they were kidnapped in Hamas's 7th October attack. 5 foreign hostages are among those who are still held captive.
It's been already 500 days that hostages are being held in Gaza. We come here every week in order to support the families, in order to show that we are with them and they have someone to count on to keep pushing and pressing until we have all hostages back.
Today is about 500 days since they were kidnapped to the tunnels of Hamas. There are here more than 10,000 Israelis fighting for that in front of the house of Benjamin Netanyahu in Jerusalem, symbolically the name of the street named Gaza. And we will not stop until the last hostage is back home.
Now, 2 days after he was released from Hamas captivity, released hostage Leh Horn sat in front of a camera on Monday to deliver one message. And he said, I quote him, "Bring me my brother back," unquote. Argentina-born Leh Horn was one of the 3 hostages released from Gaza on Saturday. Israeli troops had started withdrawing on Monday from some border villages of Lebanon after Israel's military said it would remain in 5 strategic points hours before a ceasefire deadline to pull out. Under a truce brokered by Washington in the month of November, Israeli troops were granted 60 days to withdraw from southern Lebanon, where they had waged a ground offensive against fighters from Iran-backed Hezbollah since early October. Now, that deadline was later extended to the 18th of February, but Israel's military requested that it keep troops in 5 posts in southern Lebanon. Lebanon's government said the state should be the sole bearer of arms and vowed to liberate all Lebanese territory. Hezbollah was the only Lebanese armed group that refused to surrender its weapons to the state following the 1975-1990 civil war. Now, under mounting pressure from the US President Donald Trump to tackle drug trafficking, Mexico announced the seizure of 200 kilos of methamphetamine in a cartel heartland. The discovery was made during a weekend operation to dismantle illegal drug laboratories in the northwestern state of Sinaloa. The value of the drugs seized was nearly $40 million, adding that more than 3,170 gallons of chemical precursors were used to make the methamphetamine, which was also confiscated. The Latin American nation has announced a series of major drug discoveries in recent weeks in an apparent attempt to highlight increased efforts to combat drug smuggling. Donald Trump has cited illegal flows of the deadly opioid fentanyl as one of the reasons for a threatened 25% tariff on Mexican goods. He put the trade levies on hold for a month until early March after Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum agreed to deploy 10,000 more soldiers to the country's shared border to tackle smuggling. Now, Mexico has warned it will take legal action against Google if the tech giant continues to label the entire Gulf of Mexico as Gulf of America. Now, President Claudia Sheinbaum said her government had written again to the U.S. company, arguing that President Donald Trump's executive order on the subject only applies to the part of the continent shelf belonging to the United States. The letter informs Google that under no circumstances does Mexico accept the renaming of any geographic area that includes part of its national territory and that is under its jurisdiction. Sheinbaum further said that renaming is incorrect, adding that Trump's decree only changed the name within his own continental shelf that extends 22 nautical miles from the U.S. coast and not the entire Gulf. Now, the UN appealed for $6 billion to provide desperately needed aid to people in war-ravaged Sudan as the African country faced an emergency of shocking proportions. The aim is to provide assistance to nearly 26 million people this year. The United Nations Humanitarian Agency (OCHA) and Refugee Agency (UNHCR) said in a joint appeal. Since April 2023, Sudan has been locked in a brutal conflict between Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and his former deputy Mohammed Hamdan Daglo, who leads the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. The UN agency said the civil war has displaced 12 million people, including around 3.5 million who fled the country. And at the same time, nearly two-thirds of Sudan's population needs emergency aid as swathes of the nation face famine conditions. In Canada, a Delta Airlines jet with 80 people on board crash-landed on Monday at the Toronto airport. Now, the plane flipped upside down upon landing amid windy weather following a snowstorm. The Endeavour air flight with 76 passengers and 4 crew members was landing in the afternoon in Canada's biggest metropolis, having flown from Minneapolis in the U.S. state of Minnesota. 17 injured passengers were taken to the hospital. Canadian authorities said they would investigate the cause of the crash, which was not yet known.
So the facts of the matter around this event that happened at approximately 2:30 p.m. is Delta Airlines Flight 4819 from Minneapolis to Toronto, operated by subsidiary Endeavour Air, was involved in a single aircraft accident upon landing at Toronto Pearson. The plane was carrying 4 crew and 76 passengers, among them 22 Canadians. The other passengers were multinational. Airport emergency workers mounted a textbook response, reaching the site within minutes and quickly evacuating the passengers. Again, there were no fatalities. 17 injured passengers were quickly taken to local area hospitals. At this time, we do not know of any of those passengers having critical injuries.
Now, the Toronto airport was shut down for more than 2 hours before departures and arrivals resumed. This led to ground delays and diversions to other airports, including Montreal Trudeau International Airport, that said it was preparing to receive several diverted flights that might cause further delays. The crash in Canada followed other recent crashes in North America. An army helicopter collided with a passenger jet in Washington earlier, killing 67 people, while at least 7 people died when a medical transport plane crashed in Philadelphia and 10 others were killed in a passenger plane crash in Alaska so far. A bus crash in Bolivia killed at least 30 people. 10 adults and 4 children had been hospitalized, with several in intensive care unit. The driver of the bus is likely lost control of the vehicle, causing it to drop nearly 2,625 feet off a precipice in the southwestern municipality of Yokola. The mountainous route, known for its sharp turns and narrow paths, is frequently cited as one of the most dangerous in the country. Speeding and poor vehicle maintenance have been linked to many accidents in the area. Investigation is currently underway in the accident. We're heading for a short break, but still to come on DD India Live. CEC Rajiv Kumar to retire today, Gyanish Kumar to succeed as the new Chief Election Commissioner. Up next, we'll get you all the latest updates from Mahakumbh 2025. An Indian men's cricket team holds practice session in Dubai ahead of Champions Trophy starting Wednesday. Welcome back. After that short break, you're watching DD India Live. Now, Amir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, who arrived in New Delhi on Monday on a 2-day state visit to India, will meet India's President Draupadi Murmu and hold talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi as well. Extending a rare gesture of hospitality, Prime Minister Narendra Modi went to the airport to receive the Emir of Qatar, who arrived in Delhi in the evening. Both Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Amir are expected to discuss India-Qatar ties related to trade, investment, energy and technology at their meeting. The Amir, who's on his second state visit to India after March 2015, will be accorded a ceremonial welcome at the forecourt of the Rashtrapati Bhavan. India and Qatar have deep-rooted historical ties of friendship, trust and mutual respect. In recent years, the ties between the two countries, including in the areas of trade, investment, energy, technology, culture and people-to-people relations have continued to strengthen. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar met the Amir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, hours after his arrival in New Delhi, and said he is confident that the visiting leaders' talk with the Prime Minister on Tuesday will deepen close bonds of friendship. The Union Minister also shared some photographs of his meeting with the Amir of Qatar on social media platform X, praising him on his guidance on advancing cooperation in many domains. Now, Election Commissioner Gyanish Kumar will be replacing India's Chief Election Commissioner Rajiv Kumar, who took charge as the CEC in May 2022 and will be retiring today. Gyanish Kumar has been appointed as the Chief Election Commissioner by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi-led Selection Committee on Monday, effective the 19th of February. Gyanish Kumar is the first CEC to be appointed under the new law on the appointment of the members of the Election Commission. Kumar, who will stay in the post till January 2026, 2029 will altogether steer the Commission through 20 assembly elections, elections for the President and Vice President in 2027 and preparations for the 2029 Lok Sabha elections as well. And now let's get you all the latest from Mahakumbh. The Mahakumbh 2025 in Prayagraj has drawn an overwhelming number of devotees to the sacred Triveni Sangam, which is the confluence of rivers Ganga, Yamuna and Saraswati. Displaying unwavering faith and devotion, more than 50 crore pilgrims have already taken the holy dip, seeking spiritual purifications and blessings. Even after the completion of the three main Amrit Snans, which were the Makar Sankranti, the Mauni Amavasya and the Basant Panchami Snans, the enthusiasm of pilgrims remains undiminished. People from across the country and the world continue to arrive daily, making the Mahakumbh a global spiritual destination. The Mahakumbh 2025 is not just a religious gathering, but also a reflection of the rich spiritual heritage and enduring faith of millions. As the sacred waters of Triveni Sangam witnesses history, the event continues to inspire devotion, unity and cultural pride. A three-day international bird festival was also held to promote environmental conservation and biodiversity in Mahakumbh 2025. The main objective of this event is to make environmental lovers, ornithologists and devotees aware of rare species of birds and raise awareness towards their conservation. Thousands of migratory birds from 10+ countries including Siberia, Mongolia, Afghanistan have reached the banks of Ganga and Yamuna. This International Bird Festival is a unique amalgamation of India's culture, love for nature and scientific outlook, which will become an inspiration for environmental conservation in the future. Now, Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana marks its 9 years anniversary, celebrating close to a decade of empowering the farmers in India. Launched in the year 2016 by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the scheme offers a comprehensive shield against crop losses caused by unpredictable natural hazards. This protection not only stabilizes farmers' income, but also encourages them to adopt innovative practices. Crop insurance is an important risk mitigation tool to protect the farmers from natural calamities. It also aims at providing financial support to the farmers who are suffering from crop loss or damage arising out of natural calamities like hailstorm, drought, floods, cyclones, heavy and unseasonal rains, attack of disease and pests, etc. And now let's get you all the latest from the world of sports, to begin with cricket first. With an eye on Champions Trophy, which is set to start from Wednesday, the Indian men's cricket team was seen sweating it out in practice session in Dubai on Monday. Reigning T20 World Champions India have made the finals of the last 3 ICC events, and Rohit Sharma's team signalled their fine form by winning 7 out of 8 limited over matches against England. Runners-up in the 2023 ODI World Cup on home soil, India boast one of the world's most destructive batting lineups, but will be without pace spearhead Jasprit Bumrah, who's been laid low by a back injury. Meanwhile, seamer Mohammad Shami's impressive return to action in the home series against England was a big relief for Rohit and co. India will kick off their campaign against Bangladesh on the 20th of February at Dubai International Cricket Stadium, after which they will face arch rivals Pakistan on 23rd of February. In women's cricket, Smriti Mandhana and Royal Challengers Bengaluru effected a chillingly efficient demolition of Delhi Capitals by 8 wickets during their Women's Premier League in Vadodara on Monday. The defending champion thumped last year's runners-up by 8 wickets with a dominant opening wicket partnership and a combined bowling effort to complete the Baroda leg with 2 victories. Smriti and Danny Watt made easy work of the 142-run chase, adding 107 for the first wicket. The skipper played the role of an aggressor, taking on Delhi Capital's bowling unit and muscling shots all across the ground. The 20,000-odd fans present witnessed an unforgettable innings by the Indian stalwart. On to Formula One now. Ahead of the new F1 season, Red Bull's Max Verstappen on Monday said that he hopes the team can improve on last season, where he struggled at times despite winning the Drivers' Championship. Last year, Verstappen won 9 times, less than half his record. In the year 2023 with a haul of 19, and what started predictably enough with 7 victories in the first 10 rounds and later became a thriller as he went 10 without success. The 27-year-old Dutchman said he's hoping that the team can learn from their mistakes and improve this year. And that's all for this edition of DD India Live. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the morning. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download it right now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Deepika, and from all of us here in New Delhi, thank you so much for watching DD India Live. Namaskar.